Everybody, I'm Andrew Stevens. I work at the EKC Group down here in East Kent. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. For those of you who haven't heard of the EKC Group, we're a large group of 6 further education colleges in towns or cities such as Ashford, Canterbury, Dover, Folkestone. We also run a whole load of schemes to get people into work, prison education, unemployed, employability, apprentices, and we have quite a big commercial arm as well. We actually run a 4-star hotel as well and restaurant as part of our student training. We've got about 1,400 staff and about 13,000 students. So we are a very busy operation. Just very briefly, my background isn't education at all. I came into the EKC Group around about a year ago after 25 years in local government. And I think that gave me an advantage in that I could see stuff with fresh eyes. I hadn't come through the education system in terms of the roles I had before, and I think that's worth bearing in mind, and the diversity of what we do as I go through this presentation. So, in terms of why change what we had already. In terms of our shop window, and it was interesting talking about lack of brand awareness in the last presentation, we're a group that's grown massively over the last 5 years. We've gone from 1 college to 6 colleges. We've gone from something like 200 staff to 1,400 staff in a very short space of time. My observation when I first joined the group was that we had grown, the group had grown, our core systems haven't grown with us. There was a lack of brand awareness. People were aware of what their local college was, where their local college was, but they weren't aware that this was part of a much larger group in East Kent. Time to hire was flagged to me quite early on. It seemed to take an age to get people in. That was a key driver for us. And a good example of that, also talking with what Kim said, was the recruitment request form. Previously, that was a paper form. We work on multiple sites. Pre-COVID, I worked across all 6 colleges. I was at different colleges every day. And that had to be signed by people physically, which was obviously quite difficult, and it did add delays. In terms of candidate experience, well, when I talk about coming into this with fresh eyes, this was really interesting because I was one of those candidates. And I went through the previous recruitment system as a brand new applicant to the EKC Group. And it was interesting at the interview where the dynamic nature of the group, the innovation, everything they were talking about just didn't seem to chime with the experience that I had going through their recruitment system. It seemed like something you would use quite a long time ago. It wasn't modern, it wasn't innovative, and I'd flagged it quite early as something I think we could have done a little bit better. But it wasn't just my thoughts that were relevant. I did a survey. I surveyed recruiting managers and said, what do you think of our current recruitment system in a number of areas? But I think also really, really importantly, I surveyed new starters. So we had a bunch of new starters into the organisation. I picked 50 at random, sent them a survey and said, please tell me what you thought of your recruitment process. How did you feel coming through? The really interesting thing with that was that the recruiting managers had a much higher opinion of the recruitment system than the candidates. So we got a bit out of sync. We got comfortable using the system we were using. It kind of worked, but actually we were giving quite a poor candidate experience, which was something that I was determined to improve, again, based on my experience as well. Another key driver for change for us was the environmental concerns. Upon arriving at the group, I was given the environmental sustainability agenda. So that was something that I was keen to reduce our paper usage. I was very keen and had discussions with Eploy at quite an early stage that I wanted completely paperless recruitment. I didn't want any paper anywhere in the process, and our Eploy, a customer that could supply that to me. I've also agreed with our governing body and senior executive team that we will reduce our paper usage across the group by 10% per year. And that's quite important. We're talking about education. We're talking about a sector that produces lots and lots of paper. So we've got an environmental target to reduce our paper usage by 10% a year. It's got some teeth behind it as well, because if we don't reduce it by 10% a year, we will plant trees to make up the difference. And that was something that was agreed with our students. So environmental factors were absolutely a key for us in our driver for change and trying to move to a more modern system. So why Eploy? I mean, before we settled on Eploy, we did some market analysis, looked at a whole range of systems across the piece to see what they did and what they couldn't do. Obviously, our needs were quite specific because we're in education, and it isn't just a case of interviewing somebody and saying, when can you start? Next Monday, brilliant. You know, we've got safe recruitment processes. We need to do DBS checks on all of the staff that come in. There's a whole range of onboarding that we had to do as well. And one of the important things for us was, could Eploy help us with our recruitment, and could they prove they've done it in an educational setting? And that was really key, because some of the other products we looked at in the market, the products looked fantastic, but they weren't supplying them to education customers, and it had to fulfill our safer recruitment processes. Also, we were very keen on having a hybrid of an off-the-shelf product that could be customizable by us. We weren't interested in a product that you could not change at all, and we weren't really interested in a product where you could just change absolutely everything on it and you were just given a blank sheet of paper. We wanted something in the middle, and we felt that Eploy would give that to us. Also important for us was the security credentials, and that's something that's underplayed sometimes when you're buying new systems. But my role here at EKC Group, amongst running HR and estates and a lot of other functions, I also run IT. And we have a policy now that we don't buy systems from companies that can't demonstrate security credentials, things like Cyber Essentials, Cyber Essentials Plus, ISO 27001. If companies can't prove their security credentials, and we're not giving our data to them to host. And again, Eploy ticked that box for us, which was great. We also wanted to have diversity in our recruitment. So if you employed a lecturer, for example, there's a certain recruitment process to follow, but we also employ bar staff and waiting staff for our restaurant. They're in the educational setting, but they wanted a slightly different recruitment route through. And we were happy that Eploy was customizable enough that we could have different routes in for different recruiting managers, which was a major attraction for us. In terms of the key product features for us, I mean, I will absolutely stress at the outset that I think what won us over with Eploy was the careers microsite function. Brand awareness was a problem for us. We all previously had all of our vacancies listed on a website, and the website wasn't particularly flexible in what it could do, what it could offer. When we looked around at what other companies were doing, and I'm really glad that Sam at Yo Valley is also on the agenda for today, because Yo Valley was absolutely one of the companies that we looked at, and I set the challenge to my designers and said, I want something like that when we go with Eploy. I want something that looks as attractive to the candidate as what Yo Valley have set up. I also wanted a talent pool. The talent pool we had before really didn't work that well, and I wanted something where we could push vacancies to people rather than having to get people to constantly check our website every couple of days or social media feeds to see what was being advertised. As I said before, I wanted to completely eliminate paperwork. I wanted a paperless recruitment process that we could go through. And I think what's really important for me, and this is something I bought from local government in terms of buying software solutions, I called it the any device, anytime. I wanted a software solution that the customers, i.e. our potential applicants, they could use at midnight on a Saturday. So when we were designing services before in local government, it was always a case of, yep, that looks great, but can somebody do that on a Sunday afternoon on a mobile device? And again, Eploy, you can. So somebody can, if they would feel that way inclined, they can apply for one of our jobs at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think I'd be quite interested to see what's on that application, but yes, they can do that. And again, we looking to reduce the time taken at other stages, especially when we're getting to the stage where we're offering jobs, because again, all the checks, all the safe recruitment checks have to be done at that time. So we are looking to reduce the time. Interesting what Kim was saying about the number of applicants. We too have seen a huge upturn in number of applicants, so that isn't something we can fairly compare before and after. We might have to leave that to a little bit later on before we start looking at the data for that. But every job we advertise now has got a large number of people applying for it. In terms of our project delivery, this was a really interesting thing because we initially started discussions with Eploy back in December, January. And it was really good because I had conversations with Eploy members back in January, and I distinctly remember one of them asking me, "Are you going to be moving into video recruiting?" And at that time, the world hadn't changed. And I remember saying to him, "No, we're not ready for that. There's no way we're going to be moving to video recruiting at any time in the next few years. That's something for the future." Within 2 months, we were video recruiting when COVID hit. So that was one of the challenges. We bought Eploy, signed up to it, and then the world changed. We had a decision to make. That decision was, do we carry on? Do we put it on hold? Or do we implement the whole system remotely? All through video conferencing, all through telephone calls, do we do the whole thing remotely? And we made the decision to implement the whole thing remotely. We couldn't put it on hold, really. Enough things were going on hold. We decided to go with this. In terms of competing priorities, in education, we've had a lot to deal with over the last 6 months. We've had students, we've had shutdowns. I always say one of the funny things about taking on Ashford College, which was one of the new ones we took on the 1st of April, the first decision we made at Ashford College was to close it. In line with government guidance, we had to close Ashford College. We've had to roll out online distance remote learning for all of our students in a 4 or 5 month period, roll out all laptops across the board. There's been a lot of work going on, and Eploy was another priority that we had to try and deliver at the same time. Creativity of staff, I said before, I showed my designers, my web designers, something that the likes of Yo Valley, A-Plant was another good example. I showed them what those companies have come up with and said, I want something this as good as that. We've still got improvements to make. We couldn't do everything because we were all off site. We couldn't come on site for a large period, but we have got like an improvement program that we'll be pushing Eploy's way every quarter of changes we think we can make to make it even better on microsite. And I think one of the keys for us was the benefits of the group. We're a huge local employer, 1,400 staff across East Kent, probably the biggest employer across East Kent. You wouldn't think that. You wouldn't know that if you didn't work for the group. So I was absolutely sure when I said to the team setting this up, I want our benefits, the generous annual leave, the everything else, I want that really pushed in our careers microsite. We offer so much besides being a really good place to work, but people don't know it until they start with us. We need to push this quite early. And the other factor I wanted to do was I wanted not just to have a information-based careers microsite where we tell the story. I actually wanted our staff to tell the story. I wanted staff testimonials. And again, I'm sorry, Sam, but we nicked that from you at Yo Valley. I wanted staff to be telling other people, potential applicants, how they find the organisation and what a good place it is to work. So we've pushed that as well, which you can see on our careers microsite. So to give you an idea about the diversity of what we do, this is our main R roles landing page. And you can see my mugshot in the bottom right-hand side there. But you've also got the yarrow next to that, which is our 4-star hotel and restaurant. The more traditional teaching and learning up on the top left. But we've also got loads of other roles, curriculum support. We've got a whole business support range, the typical finance, HR, system support, etc. And commercial. So we run 3 nurseries across the group as well. So what we were trying to do was to tell potential applicants, look, it's all very well, you can come here if you've got teaching experience, but there are so many other roles within the group that are nothing to do with teaching. And we're trying to say to people, look, this is a big group, lots of support services, lots of different roles, lots of places that you can make a career for yourself. It isn't just about teaching. And I think we've got that about right on this page. So this is another page of what we've set up on our careers microsite. The staff benefits are on the left there, and we were keen to push those. We do offer quite generous annual leave, I think, in compared to other groups. There's either a teacher's pension or a local government pension. We've put an awful lot of emphasis in recent years, and especially this year, on wellbeing and health benefits. We've got a mental health coach that works with staff. We do drop-in sessions for them, mental health stock takes for senior managers, all sorts of things going on like that. The normal sort of staff discounts, salary sacrifice schemes, and learning and development. We have a whole range of initiatives where we were learning organisation, we're an education organisation. So we've got a whole range of things where staff can continue to learn and develop as well. We're keen to push that. And in terms of the recruitment journey, something I found going into education for the first time is that I found the recruitment journey a little bit baffling, a little bit mystifying. There was flurries of activity where you get lots of emails of people asking for documents, and then things would go quiet for 3 weeks. And you're wondering to yourself, well, what's going on with this? Is it being done? Is it not being done? Do I need to check if things are being done? But now we outline in detail what the recruitment journey is, and we've got the facility to be communicating with people on email or text through the system to tell people exactly what stage they are and what's coming next. Again, that was my experience, finding that there were periods, I was on a 3-month notice period, there were periods where things just go quiet. And I think we need to be holding people's hands until they start with us to make them feel welcome and to make them feel like we're waiting for them and we want them to start as well. This is a screenshot from one of the things I spoke about earlier on. This is Tia, who's our marketing and comms officer at Sheppey College. And again, it's much more powerful. Instead of me telling people what our marketing and communications teams do, we got Tia to tell potential applicants what she does, how she finds working at the group. And what you will find is if you have a look around our microsite, you'll find examples of this everywhere. Really keen to present the human face of what we do. You know, it is a fun place to work. You need to work hard here, but it is a fun place to work. I work with some really good people, and I was really keen to showcase that and push the shop window as much as I possibly can. So that concludes the presentation. What I've gone through there is to talk to you about what our business drivers were, why we chose Eploy, how we delivered the project, and how the final product looks at the moment. I'll be happy to ask any questions.
Excellent, thank you.